All right, guys. So here on yet to be named beer pun segment, I'm thinking headlines, but you got to explain that one.
Like headlines is like
foamy head,
the
foamy headlines.
You would have to do the intro. Yeah, okay, we'll be right back.
No, this is it. This,
No, I know,
This
yeah.
is part of it. Yeah. So I found an article here that I wanted your guys' thoughts on. It's a thought-provoking piece from Canada's finest, United States-owned publication, The National Post. This is from Chris Lambie, possibly Lamb. I'm going to call him Lammy because that's kind of funny and infantilizing. So this one's called Canada Has Far Too Few Soldiers. Here's a radical fix. Mandatory service. And it starts like this. Back in the disco era, the coolest of eras.
Okay.
Long before he became one of Canada's top soldiers, Michel Maisonneuve was an exchange officer with a French regiment based in Sedan in the Ardennes. The sister to his Valcartier-based armored regiment, it was known in French as the 12th Hunters. In those days, the late 70s, and already I have an issue with this article because you already said it's the disco era.
Yeah.
We know when the disco era was.
Is this Foreign Legion stuff? Or is this still in Canada?
No, this is, so it's a Canadian guy. It was an exchange sort of program.
Okay.
Where he went to France for a while, but he's like a career career Canadian soldier.
Okay.
So in the late 70s, the French had conscription. Citizens were expected to serve a year. This is a quote from him. So we used to pick up the young men and women who would arrive from Civvy Street with their long hair and everything and look after them right from the beginning. And by the time we let them go after 12 months, I could have taken my troop to war. I was so sure that they were well trained, said the retired Canadian Lieutenant General, who served as Assistant Deputy Chief of the Defence Staff. It's no secret that Canada's military is having trouble recruiting people. At the end of 2024, the Canadian Armed Forces had 64,461 regular force members and about 23,000 reservists. It hopes to reach targets for the regular force of 71,500 and the reserves of 30,000 by 2032 to erase the current shortfall. Maisonneuve believes fostering a sense of service among young Canadians could help the military's recruitment efforts. It's good to serve your country.
Wow.
It's good to wear the maple leaf on your shoulder, said the former general. We've never pushed that to the extent we should. First of all, is it good to wear the maple leaf on your shoulder? Like, is it good to serve your country?
This mise-en-scene guy.
Is mise-en-scene? He's a drama kid who found his way into the military. Yeah. He believes Canadians would come around to the idea of mandatory national service. Like, they'd hate it at first, but they'd come around to the idea.
Just wait.
The idea would be to make good, ethical warriors, men and women who are prepared to defend our country and to fight for our values.
Because we know warriors are always ethical.
Always good.
Always leads to ethical choices, yeah.
And also fight for our values. We can't even agree on our values.
This is like the worst time. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell would you be like standing on?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Paul Mitchell, a professor for at the Canadian Forces College in Toronto, said Finland and Singapore both do national service well. In both places, he says, that service really reinforces a sense of national identity. Okay, well, like I said, we can't even agree on what our values are, so what's our national identity going to be? Both Maisonneuve and Mitchell said mandatory service shouldn't be confined to military service, but said such a measure would go a long way to address the force's recruitment issue. So, I agree with that. I mean, if you're going to do this, I don't think the people who are conscripted in the service are like the 18-year-old kids who are doing a year of service. I don't think they should be doing military training at all, right? They should be, if this is a good idea, this is like palatable to me if you're taking these kids and, bringing fresh water to indigenous communities that don't have it, or if they're like running inner city outreach programs,
And
or
shoveling snow in Toronto.
Exactly. So like doing actual like public good. And honestly, I think that's better life training for kids than learning how to fire a gun that you're never going to touch again.
The discipline, I think, is there. I've never been through that.
Right.
But
there are maybe things. I mean, we've seen the kids today. We've seen these kids today.
After all,
They could
we
use a
were
little,
those kids of those days before, right? Like,
exactly. Like
What are you trying to say about these kids today?
I'm saying, they could use some.
they're
purpose,
Fortnite
you know?
dancing and like,
Yeah.
you know, like, is it weird that when I walk around, I see like the younger generations, like I could knock that kid out. I could punch
No,
a hole
that's
through his chest like
totally-
Kung Pao. Like
think-
I don't like it. Just you don't pose a threat. Like you know how they were in the 40s. They look like our parents
Yeah,
at
yeah,
18.
they've
You
got
know,
the-
like
Gordy, you look at Gordie Howe. Picture Gordie Howe when he
that's
was
it.
like 17. Yeah,
That's how I. That's
He's
how
a
I would see it.
refrigerator.
I don't know if it's a thing about aging, but like you know, you look back at high school, what the kids look like compared to when you were in there. Were we like little like cherubs, like you would say? And you
Yeah,
know,
kids
like,
in high school
we
in the
saw-
80s, they had like my hairline and
Right,
they had
like-
like muscles. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
But you know what I'm saying? Like it's you need some sort of like
Purpose, I think.
well, purpose, and maybe you could see what it's like to be brought into this like type of drill, these type of like instructions and these type
yeah,
of
discipline, yeah.
you know, like
No, I get it. And for some people, that environment is very helpful. Some people, I think, do not thrive in those environments.
especially
Right.
like well, I
Right.
mean, you take high school classes. It's just cell phones. It's like, you know, like when I went to school, it was just talking. That's all it was. It was just chatting.
Every now and then you text like your weed dealer, and yeah. Anyway, it goes on. Recruitment is not the only major challenge for the Canadian Armed Forces. Procurement and culture are among the others, but the military's top brass recognize the need for creative thinking as the world only gets more dangerous. So then we've got our first. This is a very vague article, and it doesn't specify what it believes this danger is,
Yeah.
or what a good ethical warrior is, or whatever. But Lieutenant General Steve Boivin, I don't know, who heads Canadian Joint Operations Command, which is responsible for the planning, execution, support, and overall command of our deployed military operations at home and abroad, said his boss, General Jenny Kerrigan, Canada's chief of the defense staff, has taken measures to bolster recruitment efforts. The measures include bringing people in faster, introducing a period of monitoring. Then we're looking at reviewing how we do background checks and security clearances, going digital versus analog, because we have realized that the young people today in Canada, they want to serve, but they're not going to wait for very long to get answers. They'll move on to other opportunities much faster. Digitizing the recruiting process so people can apply online and making it easier to apply for security classification could help, he said. As could changing medical standards so people with ADHD or allergies can apply.
As machine gunners.
Yeah, dude,
oh no!
our most itchy trigger fingers
At
are,
the front line,
sneezing.
yeah, with machine guns. Yeah,
I didn't know that they would turn you down if you were diagnosed ADHD.
this guy does everything faster, but not all at the same time. But every other, you know, like yeah, that would
Yeah, so they're
it would be Canadian psyops,
yeah.
ADHD division.
Yep. They've revamped all that stuff. That's going into place right now as we speak. This isn't about lowering the standards. Guys, it's not about lowering the
No, no.
standards. It's basically recognizing that these things are prevalent within our society, that lots of people operate perfectly well with them, and they don't represent a risk to operational success. It's like, guys, if you're allergic to peanuts, you're not a worse soldier. You can still kill someone just as well. Mitchell said the potential talent pool has changed, and and the military needs to adapt. Historically, it is recruited out of Atlantic and Western Canada, he said. These were men who were looking for a way to escape the rural life, escape the kind of tough jobs on fishing boats or in forestry or agriculture, and see a little bit of the world and do something exciting. The labor pool has dried up long, long, long ago. We are now having to recruit from urban populations, much more multicultural.
Baristas,
And we're trying to tap into women. a
Uber
lot
drivers.
more
Baristas
effectively.
want to kill me every day.
Yeah, actually,
So-
yeah. It get recruiting from like the service industry. You're
Yeah.
getting a perfect
it's-
killing machine.
There is PTSD on both sides,
That's
right?
That's
Like,
right. You're getting a hardened individual there.
Yeah, 2% blood loss.
You can almost like maybe this is like projection on my part, but you can almost hear the resentment.
Yeah, oh yeah.
In this
Oh, yeah.
quote where it's like
Yeah.
we have to go to urban populations now.
The farm boys, they don't want to. They just want to work.
That's exactly.
But
Yeah,
then they're
they,
saying it's dried up.
they all want to work in oil and not military. But the idea, according to him, is to make the forces a career destination for people who traditionally have not looked at the forces as a career. That's why some of the efforts at cultural change within the military are really important for operational readiness. to me that reads like we need lots of different people so that we have enough people to go and die.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are some people who say this comes at the expense of operational readiness. Every hour not spent on the firing range is a threat to operational readiness. And again, if we're talking about conscripting 18-year-old kids for 1 year of service, I don't want them on the firing range. That's a complete waste of tax money, right? I want them doing an actual public good, and I'm glad we can agree on that.
Shooting civilians that want to, join conscription.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. I want the ones who are conscripted to enforce conscription on the other. Yeah. I continue to believe the Canadian Forces can walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't know. And understanding how to make this institution attractive to populations who traditionally have not considered a career in the Canadian Forces is an important operational function for our military to be engaged in right now. Problem is, quote, if you want to celebrate Diwali or you're wearing a turban, you kind of start getting side eyes about different things, and you may not necessarily feel like you are part of the team or that your contributions to the team aren't as valued as other people who are more recognizable to the military because there's more of them. But those white guys with crew cuts aren't joining up in the same numbers. And again, like,
what does that mean? Does that mean the racist guys aren't joining up?
Pretty much, yeah. No.
I'm just saying, what color are these ceremonial headgear? Like, are we talking UN colors? Do they get them in camouflage? Like,
oh yeah,
UN baby blue doesn't do well.
They should do some outreach there with you can wear like a cool
Well, it's there's long hair involved in some of these cases where it's like, and that's military says no, we want you to crew cut, right?
That's something that this very old and seemingly out of touch guy is grappling with. Yeah, basically saying we have to go to urban and non-white populations, but he's saying that those non-white populations or people with visible minorities, I guess, they have. I think, to be charitable, what he's saying is they traditionally haven't felt like they're part of the military culture in the same way, but I don't know. And especially if you're looking for an urban population, those people from cities are very comfortable with diversity, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not really sure what his issue is, but basically I think what he's saying is, please, whoever you are, please join the military.
Yeah.
We need you, please. It's going to be hard to grow the Canadian Forces in today's economy, he said. Quite honestly, if you're looking at joining the Army and you're going to be deployed to Petawawa, you're going to be deployed to Wainwright, or you're going to be deployed to Shiloh, these are not exactly cool destinations to go live in, Mitchell said. Esquimalt might be pretty nice. Halifax is not too bad if you're in the Navy, but Cold Lake, it's just this tiny little community, and a lot of people are going to look at that and say, I don't want to live in northern Alberta.
I don't know how far north that is because Alberta goes pretty
It's cold.
far.
It's well north of Edmonton,
cold.
man.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Maybe
Cold
not.
Lake.
Then. It gets pretty nasty even that to
Isolation Lake.
Yeah, Isolation Pay Lake. Yeah. Bury me at Isolation Pay Lake. No, I mean, obviously he's right. Nobody, kids or millennials or whoever, you're not going to want to go live in these places. Maisonneuve applauded another innovation, the Navy's new program that allows people to try out being a sailor for a year without longer commitments. I think it gets young men and women to try something different without feeling they have to make a life decision immediately, he said. The primary value proposition of the Navy's one-year program is an adventure, is how Rear Admiral Christopher Robinson,
I'd admire that.
shout out Winnie the Pooh, Assistant Chief of Naval Staff Personnel and Training, put it last year. It's a chance to do something out of the ordinary. It doesn't hurt, Robinson pointed out, that you get paid for it as well. A sailor third class, which is the rank all participants hold in the program, in a year is going to make a little over $40,000. And yeah, obviously that's a way better proposition than mandatory service if you're not getting paid, especially. Like, just let a kid do it for a year. Maybe you want to do it. Maybe you want to hop on a boat, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That
I was actually looking up last night. They offer a course through Government Canada. Mm-hmm. One of the courses is to be a naval navigation officer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would kill everyone on the boat as we went,
you would cost this
at
country
49
millions.
knots into the harbor or whatever. But no, they have those things there. I don't know if it's like covered or like cover the tuition.
Maybe.
But they're out there.
Yeah, like that's a way better proposition than every everybody once they turn 18 has to serve a year. Like, no, offer some money here. You know.
Oh, I think that's the main thing. Like it talked about the economy so many times. Like, if you had the money there, I think you would be okay. We need to really start our screening a little better here, right? You need to give like. There definitely is the discipline there, and I think that's. I only got something from that from like trying to make a hockey team, a certain level of hockey team that you have to.
Right, the hard work and dedication going into
be
it.
acceptable in your coach's eye, right? So
Right.
you're not just working for yourself in discipline; it's trying to meet your coach's expectations. Obviously, nothing like war, but you're still in a team environment, right? But I'm just hearing this. You got to pay the money. Like you take a year away from someone's life.
Yeah.
You're taking away a year of development from any kind of career other than the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like you need to have ways that you can branch off from the military. You need to have it so when they see 1 year of military service, it means so much more than just I was experimenting 1 year.
Because you were forced to.
Well,
That's
yeah,
also-
I mean you're
Yeah.
forced to, but like
And that's why I think it's such a hard sell in Canada and the U.S., where like individual freedom is so important to people. It's such a societal.
Yeah.
It's part of the societal fabric. You can't force an adult, like an 18-year-old's not an adult, but they are legally, right? You can't force an adult, let alone anyone, I think, to give up a year of their life in this way.
But to that point, we were talking earlier about that group mindset of, you're not joining?
Right? No, for sure.
You're a loser if you don't join.
And that's what
right?
other countries. That's what
Yes.
other countries have more,
Yes.
especially like the countries with conscription. I don't think it's because of conscription exactly, but or mandatory service, but those countries have a bit more of a culture of social good.
Right.
And they go on here with that. So Maisonneuve said boosting military recruitment numbers will require a whole of Canadian society effort. Governments at every level, from the PM on down, will need to value service to the country, to business, to sports and entertainment, to communities, to push the honor of service. Better advertising, more recruitment centers. They got rid of many of them when they went online, I guess. With a greater priority to recruiting and retention, including maybe using operational units to train new recruits. Boivin says the personnel shortfall is felt in the Canadian Forces on a daily basis. They have totally prioritized operations, and based on the current demand on the operational front, it can't be sustained, Boivin said. If the demand increases, that's where I get concerned, because there is very little, if anything, left in terms of people power. I like how they can't say manpower anymore.
Well, I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's open to everyone, so why not call it human power?
Yeah, no, for sure, exactly,
We're getting real close to that point. But
I don't care. I'm just.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
It's funny.
It's
Well, that's the. So, a few takeaways. That's the end of the article. I think if this were to happen, if this guy actually wants to get somewhere with it, this article is way too vague, and we actually have to come to an agreement on what is the honor of service and what are the services that are being provided. Because if we're just taking teenagers and putting them in combat training situations, I don't think that's going to fly. I don't want any part of that. I'm not, voting for anybody whose party is putting that forward. If and it's very easy for this journalist who is like a military journalist. It's very easy for him and for all of us also in our 30s to say what we think. 18-year-old kids should have to do. Like we would probably be exempt from this service, right?
We would be retired vets
Exactly.
if it was any World War I or II. Right?
Yeah,
we would be old.
We would be far from the first
Yes.
names
Oh, yeah.
drawn for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. In conscription. So yeah, it's easy for us to say, and very easy for this guy and for these career army guys to say what other people should do with their lives. But unless you can prove to me that we're going to have a force of tens of thousands of teenagers doing actual like public infrastructure work or like running summer programs for inner city kids to play basketball and soccer and stuff. Unless it's stuff that actually is for societal benefit, then I'm not on board. And even then I'm not on board because you can't. I don't think you should just tell people that they have to do this service.
I agree with you. I think the 1 year or a certain timeline, maybe a year is maybe too short. As long as you get paid, and maybe if it's more like you're almost after school Boy Scout vibes, where you're just kind of like, I'm going to mow this guy's lawn, feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Because I
With
do.
bullets.
I did do that. Yeah, flamethrower. I would do that when I was a kid. Like, I think it was church related. You know, like when you're in that phase where you're like still, it was this whole thing. Yeah, so
That's a good sense of community,
Yeah.
and exactly.
Trying to
and
find
that's-
purpose, a direction you want to go.
All of that is
grow.
really good stuff, and I think there's like maybe a kernel, no pun intended. There's a kernel of good idea in this, but it's also coming from the National Post, which I mean, I immediately am skeptical of too, to begin with. Like, what is this huge publication getting at? Like, why does it think that the Canadian people should be rounded up and forced into service in these numbers, kind of thing?
Well,
just a
one criticism of that is that military spending usually doesn't go up either. So people that actually want to be there get paid less. When
That's
this
what I'm
gets
saying.
enacted.
You have to have that, like, okay, maybe I don't want to go, but I know everyone else who has gone. They come out with a good amount of money that they can use to invest into something.
Yeah.
You need that, not just
need coupons.
Oh, I'm not, I'm going to get disciplined, but you need that. They need to give more money to that. I'm sorry that we're in an economy where people are just scraping by. And
well. Again, I can definitely be swayed. I can be convinced that a lot of money needs to be put into it if I see them doing stuff that is to the benefit of our society. I think absolutely engendering a culture of taking care of our people and taking care of people around the world too. But the word service, it just means, I think, different things to me than it would to these career soldiers, these generals, and admirables. Admirable as they may be, I think service means something different to me, because I think for them, they have the sort of the glint of glory and war in their eyes, where they envision a large fighting force, a big standing army, or at the very least a lot of trained reserves. Whereas no, I think have them out building infrastructure or maintaining infrastructure, and that's real life valuable experience. That's work experience that goes, I think, farther than. And I mean, a lot of the army is on computers now, but like that could be valuable training. But
I've served in Vietnam.
Yeah,
I've served in the
right.
future, World War II.
that's right.
Yeah, like I'm a veteran virtually, for virtual veteran.
That's right.
so.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you for your service.
Yep. Hey, you wait till the drones are over here, and then they'll be begging.
I saw a butch guy, like, they were doing construction, big tough construction guy, and he has a little joystick, like taking the thing
in
out,
the
like-
escalators or the
like to
escalators.
move the thing off the ramp. Exactly.
Why
And I was
can't
like,
we? Why can't we talk right now?
I'll join the army. Just
Yeah.
give me all this. By the way, Band of Brothers, just all smoking.
Oh, yeah.
That's another
so
thing.
many,
If I'm-
so
if
many
I'm-
cigarettes. Too.
If I'm in the army, I am absolutely going through 3 packs a day.
Oh,
They did a study that they studied some guys from 2016 to 18. They all drink. It's like it was in Korea, because it's one of the few countries that actually does conscription, right? And everyone drinks and smokes so much, and they're all young kids. And guess what? They don't stop after those 2 years of
course,
service.
yeah.
no.
So 4 years later, they check in. They're like, it actually affects them. Like,
You're not doing your run. You're not
It's
doing your
interesting,
cardio.
like,
You're not doing
when
the
they're
exercises,
18-year-olds
and then you
and-
just continue
Yeah,
on.
making career smokers ends
Yeah.
up costing the taxpayers a lot more than
Yes.
than they would have been.
I think you're onto something though, where like maybe don't even give them guns. They're 18-year-old. Like I would not want a gun. I would. That's the problem.
Right.
Would it be
So-
better?
When do we get the
Yeah.
gun?
Exactly.
Or maybe like, well, if you're joining into this, there is that underlying theme of if we are going to war, you're signed up and you're voluntold. There's no way getting
Yeah.
out of
Yes.
this. You signed
Yeah.
the contract. I know this doesn't really fit with what I just said, but my dad was in the reserves.
Okay.
He got to the point where he was offered a non-commissioned officer position, but he'd have to be away from his family. And, he was already set up here, so why would he? So then,
I have a question for you.
yeah.
Is that where you're like trained, but you're not actually in it?
Like, well, no, it's...
Or
it's
you're in it.
Yeah,
and
it's like...
You're in the reserves. Like it's its
Yeah.
own thing. Like it's,
Yeah. I don't remember
it's
like
still military.
My dad,
there's
it's still
like,
war
your dad,
games.
There's a
and-
degree of readiness and a degree of
Yes.
training.
Go to the firing squad.
Yeah.
firing squad.
Not the firing squad.
firing
They have the firing range actually by
yeah.
the lake.
If you desert from the
Yeah,
the reserves, then you're going off to the
I just don't
firing
remember
squad.
if my dad he did some of that, like where you climb things and fall off things. But I don't. Once they asked him to like actually probably become a reserve member, like
it's
he-
much
he
more.
bailed.
Yeah, you're much more committed. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking here like the U.S. has done things to inspire troops to go overseas and fight through certain
It's also
current
inspired
events.
troops overseas to hate the U.S.
It sure does. But how many times have you seen an interview with one of the few survivors of said event? Wherever they were serving, and they said, "Well, I served. I decided to serve. I was so mad after 9/11.
Right.
I signed up."
Yeah.
Not
So what you're
saying
saying
that
is
our
Canada
government.
needs a false flag attack.
Yep.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm
works,
going.
Honestly,
Unfortunately.
that's kind of frightening
That's
because
what
like
he. Yeah.
obviously, if you think about it for 2 seconds, you would know we would know that Canadian recruiters and Canadian generals are probably pulling out their crew cuts, trying to think of ways
Good way to say it.
to get more people to join. Right, like our numbers are really low, and just overall enthusiasm and like pride in the Canadian armed forces is pretty low. And for people whose career is that, then that's kind of it's counter to their career and counter to probably I have no doubt that these people like believe what they say, like that they think that it's that society could be improved in this way, but like what are we really, if you really get down to it, what are you actually trying to boost these numbers for? Right? Like
Right.
what are you when he says these are very dangerous times and stuff. Sorry, that's too vague. You got to be clear on why you think that
Yeah.
if you're trying to get people to sign their lives
Are
away.
these people going to Ukraine in a few years?
Right, yeah.
Right? Like, have you seen the Ukraine trench footage? That stuff is wild.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely wild. I don't know. I don't even want to say it, but like, it's just pick your poison on how you would potentially meet your fate.
For me,
Like, I don't
40 years of cigarettes.
I don't know. It's just, yeah. I mean, look what they did with the North Koreans. They dropped North Koreans in. They had no idea where they were going.
Yeah.
They joined the Russians, and then when they were captured, they were explaining all this stuff. Like they said, we have no idea. We don't even know what a drone looks like when they're coming at us, and it's just so
Right.
foreign. So what are you training these young adults for? Yes, you should have all these core things. So when you are honorably discharged, I don't even know what they would call it, but if you're discharged from
Right.
your time served,
That like
You know?
I can you can sell me on Canadian values if what you're talking about are what I actually think are good values, right? So it's just I just don't trust it. I don't trust that it would be successful. I don't trust that it would be. I don't trust that we would actually be making ethical, moral soldiers or whatever he said. Because frankly, I don't think. I'm not convinced that we need tens of thousands more soldiers. We do need tens of thousands more people with well-paying jobs that they enjoy going to every day, and we do need more of a culture of service to the community and and society at large.
pride and honor at the end of the day,
Right. What pride in your work? Sure.
Yes.
Pride in a country that is just going into a war for who knows what reason.
Yeah.
No, right?
I'm looking at, like, do you have any leaders in the last couple decades that you could look at on the Canadian side being like, you know what? I could get behind that. I'm going in.
So like we need like celebrity generals. We need like
And that's what I see Trump as, though. Like he is in a way,
he's
right?
a celebrity.
He's like the first
And-
celebrity
he's
president.
commander-in-chief,
You know,
so
like
he is a celebrity.
But even going
Trump
back-
loves all the handsome generals, so he
Oh,
would love if he heard you say that he was a celebrity general. He would love that. That's awesome.
what a guy is.
That guy, the bar minimum they call it.
Oh my
Wonderful
god.
podcast. One of the best podcasts people are talking
Yeah.
about.
No one's talking about it. No one even knows. I
It's
was
in
the first
Canada,
one.
and Canada's the 51st state.
I was.
Why do they need their own military? Just join ours.
Imagine that. If alternate reality, we become 51st. This guy like wastes all this time coming here just to go back.
Oh man, you get
And then-
citizenship just in time.
And then
to-
we
for
are
it to mean
using the
nothing.
front line.
$600 down the drain.
We're using the front line in the next major war. That use all the
They use all the dual citizens
Yeah,
as
yeah.
the fodder.
Yeah, that'd
Oh,
be crazy.
no.
Oh, you never know.
Oh, no.
It is a great question. I think I needed it when I was younger.
You think it would have been good for you?
No, I think it would have been good in a positive way of discipline. And then it also, I mean, the debate is how long, but, with any kind of sports team you join, any kind of club, there's
Yeah.
always going to be someone you don't get along with, right? And can you survive that in itself? Being on a team and potentially having a frenemy or something. And, the bullying's there, sure. But
Well, that's the thing too. Is the culture that
Yeah.
they sort of talk about. The culture in the army, hockey culture, kind of mirror each other a little bit, largely because they're male testosterone dominated environments where young men are out there sweating and competing.
Right.
So yeah, you get the bullying, you get the sexual assault culture.
Yes, yeah.
The
murder,
some
suicides.
bad stuff comes. Yeah, really bad stuff comes with it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, people end up breaking to a certain point. They see a lot of things at a different perspective than normal civilian life does.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys probably have history, knowing how much you guys love military history and wars and violence and bloodshed. I
love
You
war.
probably have some familial ties, but before you get into it, I have people that I know that wanted to join the military. Classic tough boy, wanted to get into fights when they were young.
When do we get the freaking
classic
gun?
classic crew cut boys? In
Just
a lot
let me
of-
at him.
Yeah, blonde, like they were, angry.
Jesse
kids.
look like Jesse Plemons in
Yeah.
Friday Night Lights.
And,
Yes.
and they
That's
wanted to
scary.
go into it. They liked it being extreme and adrenaline. And even then, they became Marines. They definitely got PTSD. Came back sort of okay, but, stuff lingers. And then, they landed on their feet. I can't imagine people that didn't
feet
want to
they
go
had
into
left.
it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. The feet there. And people that didn't want to go there, how are they going to fare with that stuff? You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's right. You can't compel people
Sorry, go ahead.
to be
Yeah.
good soldiers. I mean, some people you can.
That's a good point.
I think a lot, and especially now, I think you can't. This isn't the greatest generation, right?
Well, that's where you need something to, build off. It's not so much as you need something to build off, and it's not because this guy said I need to join. It's another reason you have it deep inside internally, so you have that pride and motivation moving forward. I'm not so much doing it for my fellow countrymen or my general, but yes, the things I get from it. It's important for me to move forward in my life. And we did watch the beginning of the Ukraine war in our workplace.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Following
And,
real time updates and
We I think it broke, and then we were just showing all the combat footage.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
it got to the point where we made some people uneasy. We had to stop. But
because it is something that
but this is one of those wars where you're seeing it on Reddit right away.
Yeah.
You see what happens when there's people who aren't prepared. You're seeing what happens to the people who were enlisted and fighting, overwhelming odds.
yeah.
Could
And it
that be
doesn't-
you
doesn't turn out
someday?
well,
Right?
yeah. Well, I think that you pretty much have to.
Well, so the Boy Scout thing with the flamethrowers,
Yeah.
burning that guy's lawn, I do think there's a benefit to learning those skills of helping your neighbor.
Yes.
It doesn't have to necessarily be military styles.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be forced on people. But I do think like if you get a muscle car like most of those guys get,
Yeah.
that does make me
I
seem
joined up for
like
the
that's
Charger.
kind of the. And you know what's weird is
I joined up for the Toyota Prius.
exactly like the best psyop I've ever seen for military service, other than like the hot girls on the YouTube shorts, and then the guys
I've
that are
seen those.
like
Yep.
bros. I do think some of those are like algorithmed in, where
Sure.
they're like, look how cool this, like
Yeah.
this is what this guy in the army.
Everyone
does.
gets along and everyone's on the same team, right? They don't show someone getting stuffed in a locker, someone
Yeah,
like
yeah.
assault, like what we just said, right? They don't. Why would they?
I never see military people anymore. I'm not in those circles. When I lived in Kingston, there is a base there, I
Yep.
think,
Oh,
like
yeah.
or a
Yep.
school.
Yep.
And so
Kingston.
I knew a kid who was like, oh, he should be there. And he was doing that. So like we all broke the law and he stood outside being a good citizen and we all did illegal shit.
I'm watching for the cops, guys.
Yeah. He was like, I'm not doing that just because I'm better than you. And I'm like, that's
Scouts honor.
okay. We're going to
Yeah,
go.
all right, well, I'm gonna go. Do I'm gonna go do the.
we're going to
fun
hop this
thing.
fence
Yeah,
real
yeah.
quick and go on this like.
I was in Beavers.
But
I got my tail.
there was a guy with a puppy. And
Oh, don't start.
He had a puppy and he was in an airport and he had a little puppy and he was an army guy. No, that was it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I was just like,
that's a
that
cute
guy makes
story.
me want to be
If it was the
a
Russian
military
army.
guy because he was like, he gets a cute little puppy.
At the end of his training, he has to shoot that.
That's what. That's what Russian
I think it was to smell danger. I don't know what the dog
special
is for.
forces.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what
I think what we're kind of getting to with like the community service and what
Yeah.
these guys
Yeah.
are getting to with
Yeah, that's a good point too.
the value, the Canadian values, and the fighting force that's proud of their country and all this. We're kind of talking about the soul of the country, and I think what's common is that we all agree that there's something sort of rotten in the soul of the country. Just don't think we agree on how to fix that. And I think obviously it's kind of natural that Canada's top general thinks the way to fix the country is to have everyone join the army, but I'm just not buying it.
You need to have a good incentive at the end of the day.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
someone's giving you their time in life. What are they getting in return?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not worth it, then why would you? It's your life at the end of the day. Sure, there are threats that just pop up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you're thrust into this
Mm-hmm.
war. But like, I think at the end of the day, if there was an incentive for me to join, or something like, oh, parents like, oh, I don't know what to do, you can't find a job. Well, maybe take a look at the military,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
and for some people, it's probably the right move. You know,
plane, tank, or submarine. What would you serve in, and which is the worst way to die?
I'm thinking planes, man, because I'd rather crash into the ground than drown.
But you can also have parachutes.
We
so
know
there's
how he
a-
wants to
big
go
time, yeah.
out anyway. That makes sense.
That's true. That is.
Was it?
He likes to fall off from
Oh,
high
Yeah,
areas.
I'm jumping out of the plane,
Yeah.
no parachute. But no, I'm thinking I'm thinking thinking Air Force. Also, like, you're not really gonna be doing that much.
I know what you're saying, but say if you were to,
That's what I mean. As
Spec into
in
something?
that branch of service,
Yeah.
I think you're probably working less
I
hard
think
than
we make the perfect. We should start our own sovereign state because I think we're each going to pick a specific
branch.
I
would
got the
love
C's.
tank.
You got the tank. I
Yeah.
knew that.
quickest to blow up and die, right?
Yeah.
Like usually with these massive tanks, disgustingly huge with all this secret like armor tech, and then somehow they always get one shotted, and you see like this flame, and then everyone's dead. Everyone cooks alive.
yeah.
Submarine, you run out of gas or something, you're stuck and you suffocate slowly.
Oh
Yeah, that's lovely.
Plane, if you don't die on the first flak explosion, you know, you pick up all your guts, put it back in, and you jump out. And if you don't break your spine, foot, or anything, you know,
Get caught in
you're
a tree. Yeah.
enemy territory, right? And
Oh, behind enemy lines with Owen Wilson. That's why I pick. That's why I pick Air Force.
right, I think it'd be cool.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's I've always thought about that. Like, what would I want to branch off into? And I think tanks are one of those like top like man-made horrors beyond our comprehension, right? But yeah, you gotta want to have to do something. Regardless in life, you gotta find like even if you want to do a podcast and serve in the podcast army of white guys, right? Like we have chosen
Right,
to take up
right.
this calling, but
That's right.
I don't know if it's true, but I did hear people are saying it's almost cool again. You know, things are cyclical, right?
Yes, they are.
So
Yeah.
someone was like, "Did you guys notice that it's cool to try in this culture a little bit more than it used to be?" And I was
Hopefully.
like, I think that I hope they're right.
Well, I think we're gonna maybe get to that later on another topic, but yeah, no, I think actually, here's a thought. I think this cycle follows if South Park is funny or not. when South Park is funny, all the kids think it's stupid to care, but when South Park is not relevant
Oh.
and has like 3 or 4 bad seasons without like now viral moments, or just the writing's not good, then all of a sudden people like kind of snap out of it. We're like, oh, maybe it is actually cool to care about stuff and like to try and
Yeah. That's a way to put it.
Interesting.
But at the end of the day, someone's got to do the dirty work. Someone's got to be on guard for thee. Someone,
Serving by doing something that helps might be better than actually shooting somebody.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
it doesn't
the
always
thing.
have to be about killing. But
Yeah.
you know, when you're in that club, when you're in that group, it's when the bell rings, you're expected to. So
But who's ringing the bell? Celebrity General to the south?
it better be,
or-
because I'm not going for anyone else. Like, I don't need guy crying on TV to tell me I need to go. But you need to have something to fight behind, fight in front of, and maybe it's yourself. Maybe you got to prove something to yourself. Maybe you want to.
Yeah.
I think that's my own opinion, and I think I can say confidently that I thank the people who serve and who have served and sacrificed.
Sure.
That we're able to do this still before we need to get a license. But there's some sort of freedom still in what we do and how we're able to go from day to day, and that's because people did make the ultimate sacrifice, regardless how things are changing and fluid in our governments and
Yeah, I mean, that might be a conversation for another day.
Sure.
Because I have thoughts, but we should wrap it up. But yeah, no, for sure, the general sentiment. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
if anybody who has ever served happens to stumble upon this, I think there's obviously a level of respect we have, and just like we were talking on, previously, that if you weren't in the war, you had to be back home. There had to be people doing that too, right?
Which, there were many noble things to be doing at home.
If you could maybe pose a question to the audience, our audience of ghosts, I guess the question would be: do you think it's acceptable? Do you think it should be?
Yeah, dude.
And where would you run if you were hiding from conscription?
That's right. Yeah. Traditionally, with the Vietnam War, people from the United States came up here to Canada. But where are we going to go?
Where are we going to go? Greenland?
Yeah. That's the 52nd state.
Yes,
so.
right. Soon to be. Yes.
No, they wouldn't even get state status. They'd be a territory. But exactly. Nice try, Washington Post, but
They almost got you.
I ain't dying for you.
Yeah. Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. Well.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. That was a good chat.
Yeah, it was good.
Very, very thoughtful. Let's do it again sometime. Everyone who has tuned in, giving us your time today, thank you for tuning in to a special edition of Bar Minimum Podcast. We hope to continue this foamy headliner.
The Articles of War. No, that only works for
all
this
right.
one.
All right, cut it. Okay. All right. Till next time. Cheers.
All right. That's good.
My friend died in Korea. He actually did.
What?
I forgot to bring that up.
What? Your friend died in Korea?
Conscription, yeah.
Oh, you're Korean, like what?
So he was conscripted.
It's okay. Let's
He was-
sit down and let him fucking...
He was conscripted. So he's a party boy. Grew up in Mass with my brother, a good friend of my brother's. Used to come over a lot. Not exactly a buttoned up type. Had to go back to Korea, serve for 2 years as a kid. Got drunk because that's what he was doing before he went there. And they drink and smoke, like I mentioned in the study.
Yes.
Guess what happened? He got drunk, was like in half uniform, got too close to the zone.
The DMZ?
And they fucking bipped him.
What?
Teenager gone. Yeah. So that's the kind of people you get when you force them to.
Dude.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing
Yeah,
that
it's
sombering
wild.
story.
Yeah,
But
that is why I didn't really want to get into it anyway. But yeah, he young kid.
No, that's
Yoon.
wild, man.
Rest in peace, Yoon.
Damn.
We can keep it in if you want. We can always cut
We're
this if
definitely
you
keeping
want.
it in.
Okay.
Yeah, you can keep
Just
that.
add it at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Damn.
sure.
We don't cut things. We're natural. We don't need to.
This is authentic,
Yeah,
genuine.
we only stop when
We shoot
the
from the
recording.
and then we occasionally hit our friends.
Yeah, I think he was just like strolling too close. That's wild, man. I actually, that whole thing of like serving the people in your community is something I was thinking about because I don't necessarily have like the religious stuff, but I almost was like joining a group like that where I just like help with like the cooking during like lasagna fest or something. And like, it humbles you because you're usually with people that need help. But and it's whatever you want to do to help the people around you, and then you maybe bond with them.
You know what? I missed a question there. I should have got more perspective from an American though.
For what, serving?
What was it like growing up as a kid? And
My cousins that became Marines, like my cousins. Are you?
I don't know. We're still recording.
My cousins that became Marines, they were they were cool and they would get in fights, like I said before.
But did you find a majority of people just wanted to?
They actually landed on their feet afterwards. Like, I think they did it because they were like, I need something that could help me with my career. So in a way, in the U.S. at least, especially if you specialize, one of them became a helicopter engineer guy.
Okay. Yep.
And also a sniper. One New Year's party, he was drunk, and you could tell he was still. When you kill people, when you see their face,
Yes.
you know what I mean.
Yes,
like
you
not
never
that I
forget
would
it. You
know,
never
but I
forget
could
it.
imagine it stays with you.
Oh, of course.
And he was the quieter of the two, and I always feel like the quiet guys are like,
Holding
ooh,
it all
yeah,
in.
hardcore.
Oh.
Like don't mess with him. You know what I mean? But he's also a sweetheart, very nice guy, has a family now. He's a state trooper in Mass, and my other guys, I think in Virginia.
I mean, did you find anything different from the culture because you're ex-American?
Depends where you're at.
You're
like
dual
Florida, I
American
feel
parent.
like there is a big thank you for your service in Florida because there's a lot of.
You were a young guy coming from the States to Canada.
Yeah.
Like, have you noticed a big change?
I noticed obviously when I was near
This guy is just hiding gems.
Oh, sorry.
This guy is just like, we haven't stopped.
I noticed when I first went to Kingston that it does feel like there's more, obviously because you see it. I think if it's in your line of sight, it's like anything, like your football you forgot
I've just
to
been
inflate.
interested.
If it wasn't in the closet and it was on front of you, like you just see kids walking around in the full camo, and you're like, oh yeah, there's,
But
you see these old forts. They're not actually in the forts.
You think it's
anymore.
kind of equal though from Canada and U.S. That's
For
you're
what,
saying?
patriotism?
Yeah,
Like-
like for joining up, like the call.
Well,
The
I
need
remember
for
in
it.
high school they did that classic thing where they brought like a foldable table out
Sure.
and they were like, "Come on!" and
Come on.
and they did. The guys that definitely had home troubles were the ones they were going for because they had like anger. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It is kind of the farm crew cut farm boys they were talking about. They still exist. And,
So it's kids will be kids at the end of the day, not so much if you're American or Canadian.
The guys with the Birkenstocks, I don't think we're going to apply.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So it's just
The
humans,
the deadheads,
kids being okay.
the deadheads that were in my
Yeah.
my graduating class. I don't think they
Okay.
can.
I was wondering that. I mean, you have the best outlook on that.
Apathy was a big thing throughout most of my life, and that's why I'm hoping that maybe giving a crap is getting in vogue again a little bit. But who knows if that's just wishful thinking or maybe it's just perspective that it's always been shit. Like when I was a kid, it was shit then too. I was just too young to know any better. So,
Amen.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think part of it is
Okay.
just that, just perspective.
All right. No, we forgot to ask him what it, like from American to Canadian perspective. If as a young American to a young Canadian, was there more of a pull on one side to the other?
Sure.
And
For
this-
military service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing I suck and I forgot. I know a guy. Okay, so this guy that I went
This
guy that I went
pretty
to
No, continue.
this guy that I went to university with lives in the same house.
Okay.
Great dude. He avoided. Okay, so he moved. He's Chinese originally. He avoided going back to China because it's not mandatory, but it is strongly encouraged enough where they will make your family ask you over and over, or like send you letters or reach
Okay.
out to you. So he was like, I do not want to go back. For every reason, he did not ever want to go back. So he joined the Navy eventually here.
Okay.
So he's like, if I got to do it, I'm
You'd
going
rather
to do it
do it.
here.
Okay.
And now he's living I kind of wanted his life. He's stationed in Halifax, like we mentioned, wife and kid in the coolest. I think I would like to live in Halifax personally. I've never
I
been.
think so, yeah.
Town, yeah.
You're a Scotia traveler, right?
I'm a coastal guy. I would love to be. Either
I mean,
coast.
you went on a.
yeah, you've been
Don't
around
you?
there.
A year or two ago, you went to visit.
That was Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
But I
Same
have been
thing.
to Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, he does.
Same
I don't
neck
think
of the woods.
he had some troubles like we all do, but I don't
Sure.
think he's seen too much like my cousins did, where they were like, seeing people's
They were
heads
like
explode.
active. Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't think a human's like meant to kill another human. I
My
think
cousin was a
No,
sniper,
right?
so
So
like he saw people's heads
how the
explode.
human brain reacts to extreme gore and violence. I mean, we're already conditioned, right? We got Reddit.
Oh, yeah, we're
right?
we're
There's
like
best gore, like
we can handle it for sure.
for sure. The amount of stuff I have seen, like But yeah, anyways. Well, I just figured I'd ask you if
Yeah,
you wanted to
sorry
add
about
some
that.
things. No, that's
Sorry, I
okay.
didn't-
Well, maybe
yeah.
we'll figure a way to
Weave it
crowbar
in at
this
the
in.
end, like
Tack it
a
on.
dream sequence at the
Yeah,
end.
well, for our Patreon viewers, right? We'll just usually do. Okay, let me.
Back it on.
That was good. Thank you for your
Rest in peace,
input.
Thank you for your
Joy.
service, Brian.
Insectoid, my man.